This episode of Shaped is brought to you by Easy Mobile, exclusive to Chemist Warehouse. These holidays, staying connected matters more than ever. From the 1st of December 2025 to the 3rd of February 2026, you'll get double the data on selected 5G plans for the first 6 recharges. Enjoy unlimited calls and texts, Aussie-based support, and better value mobile with no lock-ins. Find Easy Mobile at Chemist Warehouse or online at easymobile.com.au. Selected plans only. Terms and conditions apply.
I think I'd been probably battling a little bit since 2008. So I'd won an individual Olympic gold medal, which I'd worked 12 years for. It was a lot of pressure. I had achieved everything I ever wanted and probably lost a little bit of my identity after that.
Leisel Jones.
Yes.
Welcome to Shaped.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
I have something to disclose off the very... I was a shit swimmer growing up. But my one stroke that I was actually okay at and, competed in very mediocre school competitions and so forth was breaststroke.
Okay. I like this. This is
Yes,
good. Look, swimming is a skill that is very challenging to pick up. Unless you do it all the time, it's very hard to do. So you're forgiven.
Thank you. The thing that I can't wait to understand for you is my earliest memory of swimming and swimming in competition, a very mediocre one, as I touched on. But when you're doing breaststroke, there's like the noise level every time your head comes out of the water is like I can still feel that energy that came with that. Now, I've done lots of things since from a sporting point of view, but it is still something that sits there and goes, well, that was a pretty incredible feeling, plus the anxiety that came with it as well. So I'm looking forward to unpacking that. But as a little bit of an introduction, extraordinary achievements.
Thank you.
4 Olympics.
Yes.
9 medals, world records, a career that began at the ripe old age of 14.
Yes.
Plenty of media scrutiny, like most athletes, and then this reinvention after retirement, which, I mean, there's so many defining moments and sections of your journey so far. I can't wait to unpack it. But for us, with our guests, we typically like to start where it all began for you. Growing up in Brisbane, family life. Give us a little bit of an insight into your journey as a child.
I had probably one of the best childhoods you could ever hope for. I grew up on 300 acres. Not that we owned it. It was just happened to be a development land. So I had my own horse. I had a blue cattle dog. I just was free range childhood, which was fantastic. And so I was always active. I was always outside, always social, and really couldn't ask for a better childhood. So I was really lucky in that sense. I learned to swim when I was 2. So it was for water safety. I learned to swim in Woy Woy Pool in Sydney. And it was just purely something that I did for water safety. And my mum was a swimming teacher. She never taught me, so that was good. I don't want my mum to ever teach me, but I just loved it. It was just something that I did all the time. And so from the age of 2, I was always around water. Growing up in Brisbane, pretty much everyone has a backyard pool. We were pretty lucky through the 80s and 90s to be able to have backyard pools. And so I was always swimming. I always loved it. And I just grew up in a really small area. I learnt to swim in Queensland at Burpengary Pool. That was where my local club was. Most people wouldn't even know where Burpengary is.
Where is Burpengary?
It's just a little bit north of Brisbane. So it's probably only about 40 minutes north of Brisbane. So it's not that far out. But back then it was just a backyard pool. And that's where I learnt to swim in Queensland. So pretty lucky in that sense that I just loved the water. I really gravitated towards it. For me, it was just really natural. And it was just one of those things that just instantly just felt that was my world. Yeah.
Was there either one of your parents that had a bigger influence on, the way that you live life now or growing up?
For sure. I think my mum certainly had a lot to do with my upbringing. And I think too, because my mum was always driving me around, driving me to school, like a lot of mums do now.
A lot more conversations.
Absolutely. Yes. So a lot of car conversations to and from school, to and from swimming training at 5 o'clock in the morning. All of those swimming carnivals up on the Sunshine Coast that she used to drive me to, up to Mackay. She used to drive me everywhere. So my mum had a huge influence on my life and I think kept me really grounded throughout a lot of it. And my mum never let me get away or get a too big of a head with anything that I did. It was always just a reminder of you're just a swimmer, not just a swimmer, but swimming is just a thing that you do. And so I really liked that I could have that grounding sense throughout my life. So I can still depend on my mum to this day to be able to keep me really grounded. And yeah, I'm really grateful for that upbringing. As like I said, it was a dream childhood. I was extremely fortunate in that sense.
Was there a moment in your early teens where you had the realization that far out, like, I'm obviously very good?
You know what? Not until I made the Sydney 2000 team.
Is that right?
Yeah, I
And that
was
was at 14?
at 14. So I was selected at 14. But before that, probably when I was about 13, I loved winning age championship. That was what I always dreamed of. And we used to get towels as age champions, and I just always wanted one of those towels. I still have a couple of them. They're like engraved and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
nice.
And I used to swim for my local club, and just winning a towel was such a huge thing for me. And sort of around maybe 11, 12, 13, those ages, that was what I lived for. But it wasn't until I went to, I think we had age nationals in Perth, which was before the selection trials for the Olympic Games. And they were, so the trials were in March, and I think it would have been about February that the age nationals were on. And I did this massive PB. I think it was 107 high, maybe 107.8 or something. And that was already qualifying for the Olympic Games. So I had got the time, which is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And then you've got to be top 2 in the country. So a lot of people were then looking at me thinking, oh, this girl might actually make it. And I didn't really think too much of it because I was just loving it. I loved competing, and I loved Perth Age Nationals was so fun. Didn't really care about the Olympic trials, and then rocked up to Olympic trials and surprised everyone, including myself.
Yeah. It would have been a nice surprise, but I suppose in that moment, your life then goes from being somewhat a normal kid with talent in a particular sport to then, this is my life.
Absolutely. It was a huge leap. I went from this kid that was playing with horses in my backyard to now being on a world stage with people that I idolized, people that I watched in the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. I saw them race, one of them being Penny Haynes, who was the world's biggest, most impressive breaststroker at the time, and I'm now racing against her. But going to the Sydney 2000 trials, we obviously had been awarded our home games. I didn't realize the enormity of that. I thought, this is great, this is fun. And so many people went and watched the Sydney 2000. And if you were around Sydney at that time, you knew how massive it was. I didn't really care. I didn't really know much about it, or I was just rocking up to have a swim.
Another competition.
Pardon?
It was just another competition.
It was, yeah.
You to get the best out of yourself.
Yeah, for me. And I was at Redcliffe League's Launton Swimming Club, so just a pretty local club on the peninsula there. And I was going to school. I was just mucking around with my mates. I was going to the local shopping centre out at Bankstown, which I shouldn't have been doing. But a local Bankstown shops, I was hanging out there before my race and was just having the time of my life with my friends. And that was the best part. I just loved it, and I loved racing, and I was so innocent and naive at that time that the concept of even making the team was just not really an option or a thought for me. So I just didn't really care. And that was the best thing. I just went out and raced and had a great time.
Did you realize the enormity, and I'm assuming you definitely didn't at the time, but in hindsight, I reflect on your journey, and I don't know whether it was just the 2000 Olympics. I was 10 years of age. I had these aspirations of going on in my field in sport. Did you realize the impact that you were going to have, or did have, or have had on so many people, whether they were swimmers, non-swimmers, other athletes, or in other realms of life, that you provided them hope that this is what is possible?
No clue. I just really, truly, I was just out there having fun as a young girl. That's all I was doing. I was having so much fun. And if that became inspiring, that was really not a forethought for me. It was just one step at a time. That's all I did at the trials, which is so much high pressure, because once you make the team, that's it. That's fine. That's easy. It's making the team that's so difficult. We have so much depth in this country. You have to be first or second. There's no third place. Third place doesn't get to go whether you made the time or not. So you have to be first or second. So you have to deal with that pressure. So I was just going step by step. I didn't really care, or wasn't really aware of inspiring other people. It wasn't about that. it was truly just about making the team and having fun with my mates. And I guess looking back now, that's probably what inspires me about other people. When I watch other people, I get really inspired by the innocence of a lot of it. When you see young kids just having fun and enjoying their sport for what it is, I love that about them. So if I inspired other people, that's probably why, is because it was truly just an innocence that I had no idea what I was doing. I was just rocking up and swimming to the best of my ability, and that's all I did. So I really did not set out to be an inspiration for anyone, but I guess looking back now, it probably does inspire people.
Well, you were.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Was there any part, and maybe it's part of a regret or maybe just it's an awareness, was there parts of your teen years, your adolescence or your childhood that you definitely had to sacrifice?
Yeah.
You kind of look at some of your friends that I assume you're still friends with to this day where you go, far out, I missed that.
Yeah, we reminisce a lot of the time, and I still have a lot of friends that I was friends with since I was 13, and we've been through these journeys together. I do see, I guess, to one point that I did sacrifice a lot, and I didn't really have a childhood, and I did have to grow up really quickly, because being 14 on the Australian swim team, which is a very daunting experience, I had people on that team like Kieran Perkins, Grant Hackett, Susie O'Neill, Hayley Lewis, the biggest names of Australian swimming in the golden era of swimming, and I was a part of that team. So I had to grow up really quickly. And lucky for me, I trained with Jeff Hugel. So growing up with Skippy, I learnt a lot of things very quickly, and I just had to have this level of maturity that I just didn't really have a choice. Yeah. And so I'm not bitter about that at all, because those experiences I would never give back for anything. It was such a great opportunity to compete at an Olympic Games, being selected at 14, I turned 15 at the Games, but just to have that opportunity, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So as much as I missed out on my childhood, no one gets to experience that. And that's so lucky. You can't even pay for that experience. That's how lucky I was. So yeah, I missed out on childhood. I missed out on a few things. I didn't do year 11 and 12 at school, which I deeply regret, but
what you gained far outweighed that.
So much so. Yeah. The people I met, the maturity that I got out of that, I wouldn't trade it.
Speaking of some of the people you just mentioned, I was fortunate enough. I'd known a little bit about Susie O'Neill, but got to do Dancing with the Stars with her.
Oh, love it.
Which she, speaking of comfort zones, that was so far out of both of our comfort zones.
Horrific. Horrific.
But she's one of the most beautiful humans that I've ever met.
Honestly, one of the driest, funniest people you will ever meet. And she does Brekkie Radio in Brizzy, and I think people then got the privilege to learn what she's like behind the scenes, because she doesn't really give much in interviews, but you'll realise she's the warmest, funniest, kindest person. But she's so dry.
And
I love
fierce,
it.
Like her competitiveness. I think that's what she struggled with most. She's like, I know I'm shit, but I want to be so much better.
Yeah.
That was literally her attitude.
Yeah. And it's a win at all costs. And she still does, which I love. And but she does it in a way that is very kind and caring for other people. Yes, she wants to win, but not trample anyone else. And I love that about her. So I was very fortunate to be there when she won the 200 fly at a home games. That's outstanding and incredible. So in that sense, I'm really lucky to be in an era with Susie O'Neill in a professional sense. Yeah. Like, pinch me. How amazing.
You carried the expectations of a nation for a lot of years, but also from a very young age. How does the pressure manifest itself in someone who is literally learning about who they are?
That's right. Yeah, I think about that quite a bit, actually. And if I ever describe it to someone, the amount of pressure that you have on you at an Olympic Games, regardless of your age, is immense. And having to deal with that pressure it takes so many years to learn how to deal with that. And unfortunately for us, unlike AFL, we don't get every year to be able to get the chance to compete in a grand final. It's over for 4 years and you start again. So, and my race in particular was 1 minute and 5 seconds. You have 1 minute and 5 seconds to prove 4 years of hard work. So you put that on a 15-year-old at the time. At that time I was going 107, not 105, but 105 towards the end. But that amount of pressure is gross and sickening and horrible. But I think it toughened me up for life. I love pressure and I love I thrive under it. And it took me probably till the end of my career to learn that I really love pressure. I love and thrive under it. And I miss that in my life now. Since I retired, I don't have that.
Yeah. Was there any techniques, whether through your own journey of just learning and dealing with either setbacks or moments or crumbling in moments as compared to succeeding in the moments?
Yeah.
Or was there a person that kind of goes, here's some advice on dealing with pressure?
I don't know that I learnt anything over that time. I think I just made peace with it after a while, that
Partly acceptance.
you have to accept it. It's going to be part of the job that you do is pressure, and a lot of it's going to be external. Probably the thing that I learnt the most was the pressure I put on myself, and the expectation of myself to succeed and perform far outweighs anyone else's expectations. And as you would understand, you will never, ever meet someone else's expectations. It doesn't matter, because you could be, I don't know, the greatest person of all time, and they'll still find someone to compare you to that you're still not good enough, right? So that pressure and expectation is going to be there, and you will never meet theirs. But failing to meet your own is so much harder to deal with. And I struggled with that a lot, because I set myself these ridiculous expectations of what I wanted to achieve. And when I didn't meet those expectations, I was so critical of myself. And that's harder to deal with. Other people's expectations, like, you don't know me. I don't really care. Sure, you're going to have them, but I'm not going to meet them every single time. But disappointing myself is so much worse than anything else. So I think over time I probably learnt how not to be so hard on myself.
Yeah.
And
that's a skill, because the expectations that you placed on yourself would have been a big driver in why you got the best of yourself.
Totally.
A lot of the time. Talking about the moments where you learnt how to take a little bit of that pressure off or not be so hard on yourself, what were the techniques that you had to introduce?
One thing I learned, and this probably took me till 2008 to learn this, and I think I was working with a sports psychologist at the time, and we're looking at the expectations I had on myself. And one thing I learned, I don't know if someone said it to me or whether I just learned it over time, that I'm just swimming. I'm not curing cancer. And that was big for me, because I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not saving people's lives. I'm just a swimmer. And that was such a great technique for me. And I still use that to this day in any jobs that I do. If I start feeling like I'm choking or doing any of that stuff, I'm like, I'm not curing cancer here. I'm not saving the world. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's just swimming. And once I learnt that it was just swimming, then I could enjoy it, because what a privilege, to be able to do that at an Olympic Games, to have the talent to do it, to have the work ethic to work towards it, to be in a position to be healthy enough, fit enough to compete at an Olympic Games. That's a privilege. And then to not enjoy it after all of that, I think is quite insulting. So it really took me a long time to learn that. Unfortunately, I probably would have enjoyed it more before then. But yeah, every time I stepped up behind the blocks, I just knew I had a job to do. But I was like, hey, we're not doing brain surgery here. Let's just keep it really simple.
Love keeping it simple.
Yeah.
A lot of our female athletes that have come on the show have spoken about just the microscope that can come on them from, you are a young girl that's still going through development and so forth. You have been very outspoken about some of the feedback or media scrutiny that was there around body image or performance or whatever it was. How did that, or what sort of toll did that take on you? And what did it teach you about yourself?
During 2012, that was probably the most horrific time for body image that I was struggling with, because obviously in sport, you want to be leaner, to be faster. There's no doubt about that. You can't take that away from the actual logistics of swimming, which is you want to be leaner to be faster. So we can't take that away from it. And so there's going to be a lot of focus on what your body looks like, trying to get it as lean as possible. But then some people just take it too far. And I really struggled with that throughout my career, because being a young person, you're exposed to a lot of eating habits that people have, and sometimes not taking good advice from dietitians at the time. And I struggled with that throughout my career. But in saying that, I never had to deal with that publicly, because it was always in a circle. We were all in it together. All of us had support from each other, whether it was other females that were going through the same thing, that we understood how hard it was for people to be looking at our bodies and making judgments and scientifically saying you need to be leaner if you want to be faster. I get all that. But it wasn't until 2012 when I was publicly on the front page of the paper being told that I was on a holiday in London, that I was not taking anything seriously. And yes, my body was not in the shape that it was in 2008. I had the 12 months before considered taking my own life. I was on antidepressants, which for a lot of people makes them blow out. And to deal with people's criticism who weren't in the sport, to make accusations that I was on a holiday was so insulting, and I struggled with that so much.
Yeah.
And the shame was the big one, and feeling a lot of guilt at the time that I was copping all of this criticism from people who didn't know me, who were not in our inner sanctum, who didn't understand what was going on. That was so hurtful because it became really personal, and that was probably the most hurtful part. And no one wants to be called fat. No one would say it to your face, yet I was sitting there on the front page of the paper at home, just embarrassed and shameful that my body was plastered all over and people were making comments about it. Was
tricky. There one particular, is that the moment or the comment that hurt the most?
That hurt the most. Yeah, absolutely. Because then I became really conscious of it, because I knew I wasn't in the shape I was in 2008. I wasn't training as hard because I was trying for a gold medal in 2008, and I took it to extremes. I was really eating to extreme before 2008. I would go as far as to say I was starving myself before 2008 just to try being as lean as possible. And yes, it worked for me, but I wasn't in the same headspace. I was really struggling in 2011 and 2012. And so those comments became really hurtful because they became so personal, and that's what I hated the most. And then people pile on top of that. Once you raise awareness of it, then people think, oh, taxpayers' money and all of this sort of stuff. And you go, mate, I'm fighting for my life here. Like, I'm battling my own demons in my head, let alone having to deal with
this shit.
Yeah, exactly. So it made me really conscious on pool deck. I was so self-conscious that I would carry my gear bag in front of me because I didn't want people to see it. I could hear cameras clicking. I could hear people just wanting to get that shot at the bad angle. And I know this sounds really stupid, but I felt like, I specifically remember this picture of Tyra Banks. She was on the front page of like a Woman's Day or something like that. And they were calling her fat at the beach. That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like a celebrity that had been papped at the beach, and they're going, oh my God, she's not the supermodel she used to be. You're like, oh my God, this is not what it's about. So I really struggled with that. That was the first time that I ever felt personally attacked throughout my career from someone on an outside of our inner sanctum. And that really pissed me off.
If you're okay going into a little bit more depth around your journey with mental health, and you just said then you were at a place where you wanted to take your own life.
Yep.
That's pretty confronting to hear for someone listening. What had happened in your life to get you to that point?
So for me at that point, I think I'd been probably battling a little bit since 2008. So I'd won an individual Olympic gold medal, which I'd worked 12 years for. It was a lot of pressure. I had achieved everything I ever wanted, and probably lost a little bit of my identity after that because I'd achieved what I wanted. So I thought, well, what do I do after?
Did it feel not as good as you thought it would? Or did
More
it go
of
away
a relief.
Quickly?
Yeah,
right.
It was more of a relief because it was such a big build-up that in that time I thought, this is going to change my life. Everyone's going to love me more. Everyone's going to treat me better. And admittedly, some of that stuff happened, but it's not world. Funny enough, the world doesn't stop when someone wins an Olympic gold medal, because in the pool, I won, but someone else in the archery won as well at the same time. Does the world stop for them just because I won? No, it doesn't. The world continues. So I struggled a little bit after 2008 because I felt a bit directionless. I didn't really want to swim anymore, but I didn't really know what else to do. And it's that identity part that I really struggled with. And my whole identity, everything and every fiber of my being was wrapped up as being Leisel Jones, the swimmer. And I always will be that, and I'm fine with that. But when you have nothing outside of it, I had no education. I didn't have any degrees. I wasn't really working in media. I wasn't doing anything else. And I was living in Melbourne at the time. I was like, what do I want to do? I don't know that I want to continue anymore. And the option was put on the table that I could be the first to go to 4 Olympic Games. Oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. I really can't be bothered. And so I sort of just hopped into training, but it just went downhill so quickly, my mental health, because I just didn't really want to do it. I had no passion for the sport anymore. A lot of my friends had retired after 2008, and I kind of just kept plodding along, but more so only because I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I had nothing else that I was passionate about, nothing else that I really wanted to go into. I hadn't studied anything, so I couldn't really work in anything. And I felt so hopeless. I just lost all my drive and passion and determination, and that's horrible. But that identity piece is something I'm really passionate about. And I think identity has a lot to do, losing that sense of identity of everything that you've built up and not having that anymore. I think that's a big part of where you start going off the rails a little bit.
Is that the part that you wish you could go back and kind of help protect?
100%.
Leisel understanding, swimming isn't everything. And it's so funny you said at the start that that's what your mum was trying to do all the way through.
Yeah, completely. You're so right. It's just, it is a lot of that, because also too, when I was younger, swimming was everything. And I had coaches that we weren't allowed to do anything outside of sport. We had to train, focus 100% of our time on that. And that was disastrous. And it wasn't until I started working with Stefan Vidmar that he allowed us, or really encouraged us, to do things outside of the sport. And that was such a big moment for me to be able to see that there is a world outside. So that wasn't until about 2006. So I didn't really have that much time in the lead up before 2008 to set myself up outside of sport. It's a huge regret of mine. And if I have any advice for young athletes, make sure you do something else. Even if you hate it, who cares? Get something under your belt, just a degree of some sort, or a trade or anything. Just have it there to go.
Some form of experience.
Correct.
That's outside of your everyday currently.
Yeah. And it just gets your mind off sport too. It just means all your eggs aren't in one basket.
Is there an untold story from behind the blocks moment where you had a private ritual on racing days, or something that you haven't necessarily talked about previously?
I've probably talked about it a little bit, but one of my favorite things that I set up around 2008 was, this is my office, I know what to do. And it put that control back into my hands of, I can't control anyone else in this race. I'd had some of my best competitors in 2008 lining up in the final. This is my one chance. Like I said, 1 minute and 5 seconds to prove myself, and it's all over. You've got to start again in 4 years. And so for me, that just gave me the control of, my office is 50 meters long, it's 2 meters wide, and it's filled with water, and that's all I can control. And I still love it today because I don't compare myself to anyone else in the job that I do. I'm not competitive with anyone else. I can only control what I do. And it works in relationships, it works in life, it works in work. It just is so easy because you just can't control anybody else. You can't control their reactions. You can't control what people say or do or think or believe. You can only control what you do. And I love that so much. And that gave me my power back in 2008, that I go, just do what you've practiced 1 million times before, step into your office and get the job done. And it was just a really nice way to take that pressure off of, don't worry about what lane 4 is doing. Don't worry about lane 6. They'll do what they need to do. You do what you need to do.
Just swim your race.
Yeah, just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. You touched on it being very much in your own control and in your lane, and it's 50 meters long, 2 meters wide. Did you have to call on some of those lessons that you'd learnt through the early or middle part of your career when you did go through those more trying times, from a mental or physical or combination of both component?
I feel like maybe I didn't have any tools for that side. Yeah. In my swimming career, I had so many tools of how to compete, how to race, how to deal with pressure, how to swim a 25 in this time, in this many strokes, and a 50 in this time. I knew how to do that. When it came to mental health, I had nothing. I had no tools, no education, no way to deal with it. I had no clue. And I felt like I was just left out in the wilderness. And that's what feels so, what's the word? Like, I guess just out of your control. Just, you can't grasp it because you go, I've never dealt with this before. Swimming a race, I could tell you how to do that. I can tell you, but dealing with the mental health of what was happening in my head, I had no clue. And that felt so uncomfortable because I went, I have no idea what this is. I'd never felt it before. I'd never really experienced anything like that. And so for me, I was just like, I'm so out of my depth here, pardon the pun. But I just had no clue. I was just like, what the hell is this? And why is it broken? I just didn't have the skills.
Yeah. What skills did you have to acquire to help you kind of rewire, rebuild?
So working with a sports psychologist was the best start I could possibly have. In 2011 was when it really started falling apart and really blew up in my face. And so it wasn't until then that we had to unpack the last at least 11 years of stuff that had built up. So in 2000, my first coach, Ken Wood, banned us from using sports psychologists. We were not allowed to use them. I was a 14-year-old girl at the time, remember?
Yeah.
And so for 4 years, we were not allowed to use it because they were for weak athletes. So sports psychologists.
It's amazing to think about, like,
yep.
That's not that long ago.
It's not that long ago. 25 years ago. It's a long time. It's
Well, it's
yeah.
not. But how much the world has shifted, and
changed.
You completely understand why now we're kind of playing catch up from a mental well-being point of view.
Correct.
Because
and why
there's all these attitudes of, you don't need that.
Yep.
But it's actually about fundamentally, just like swimming, with your mental well-being, you need to acquire and develop skills over time that allow you to go, yep, I'm falling a little bit. I can catch myself, and now I need to come back to, my morning routine or speaking to someone or whatever else.
Correct. Yeah. And I think a lot of it too, especially when you're stepping up behind the blocks, I would say almost 95% of it is mental. You can be 100% physically prepared, but mentally, if you can't put it together, you can throw your physical preparation in the bin, because if you're not mentally prepared, you can get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that being able to work through, mine was mental health. So I've got that sports performance stuff down pat. That's pretty easy to work on. I mean, most people can talk about performance and preparation and things like that. But the mental health side of things was so tricky because there was so much to unpack there. And mental health probably affects more of the general society than it does, dealing with peak performance, and dealing with the pressure that we would have to as Olympic athletes. And there's probably more aspects to Olympic sport and performance that you'd have to deal with that normal society wouldn't have to deal with. But that mental health side stuff is so prevalent in our society that we're not immune to it.
No.
Just because we can perform really well and because we can prep for an Olympic Games and deal with pressure and all of that stuff. I was just spat, sorry. When you see it, you're like, oh, damn.
We're all human.
You can freeze frame that. But yeah, it's just really funny that just that mental health aspect, just having no clue of how to deal with it. So, we talk about 25 years ago not being that long. I had coaches banning me from using sports psychologists because they were for weak athletes. Yet the strongest athletes are the ones that use sports psychologists. So, and now you talk about the athletes that, work with sports psychologists, and they're unbeatable. They're incredible.
You've spoken about 1 minute and 5 seconds. And when you started at 14, I think the qualifying time was around, you said high 107s?
I think it was 107.3, I think, if I can remember. I'm hopeless with times. If you ever speak to Grant Hackett, he will tell you times from
Every
1980s.
race.
He's incredible. I'm hopeless.
Well, I'm a bit more like you. I lack a bit of the details sometimes.
Yeah.
But to think over your career, there's 2 and a bit seconds of improvement, and however many millions of sessions and hours in the pool staring at a black line. That takes a toll.
Yeah, it does.
Has it helped you when you go into other phases of your life where you go, like, I was fighting for a microsecond for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time? Does that help? That builds resilience, I'm tipping.
Yeah, it does certainly build resilience. It's funny because that 0.1 of a second that you're fighting for or training for is you don't see it until you race. So you don't actually know because you're training. So you don't really see those micro improvements that you're making. And I think that's really frustrating because we really only had one big competition every year. So whether it's Commonwealth Games, World Championships, Olympic Games, but Olympic Games, you have 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. So I think that's really frustrating because you can't see that. You know, it's not like footy where every weekend you can go, I've been working on that this week and I can see the result. You go, oh, I've been working 36 hours a week for 50 weeks a year. We used to get 2 weeks off, and or
Generous.
48 weeks. Yeah, so generous, so lovely. We used to train Christmas Eve and Boxing Day. So
Brutal.
we'd get terrible no time off. I think in terms of swimming, it's so hard to see those improvements that you're working on. So it's frustrating in that way that you go, well, you don't get to test yourself that often. You don't get to test yourself every weekend. And yeah, it's frustrating, but it's a long game. You've just got to play it. You play it for the whole year for this one moment. And you just hope on the day it all goes well, because if you have the flu, too bad. Race is not going to wait for you.
Nah.
So you just get up and race.
Did you ever win or perform at your absolute best with like the most trying of circumstances?
Oh, totally. I remember this one. I think it was 2005 World Championships. It was in Montreal, and I think it might have been 2 world records at the Worlds, and in the 100 and maybe the 200. I can't remember. Anyway, see, I'm hopeless with times. It might have been 2 world records.
Just 2 world records.
I think so. It was the best meet I've ever had. It's the worst preparation I've ever had for any event ever. I was in bed for a week beforehand with the flu. We had been to Orlando. So we were training in Orlando. We had been to one of the Six Flags, the theme parks or something. I got really sick after that. I was in bed for a week. I was isolated, no training, wasn't allowed out of my room so I didn't infect anyone, was not doing anything, and it's the best performance I've ever had. Isn't it weird?
It is. It's those moments though through your career where you go, oh my God, like that just taught me that it's not necessarily just the day before from a prep point of view or the week before. It's actually the countless amount of hours that no one sees that actually hold you in good stead. And as you said before, like there is a component of physical when you're performing.
Of course.
But the mental part, like maybe you went in with the attitude of, well, I've had a fucked prep anyway. Who really cares what happens? Like I've got an excuse.
Yeah.
But you didn't need it, right? Like it just released any pressure.
Totally. And I think we talked about it earlier about acceptance. You have to accept the fact that you're sick. You can't train. You want to be there, but you can't. So that acceptance of, oh, well, this is what we're doing. And obviously my body needed the rest, and it was the perfect outcome that I could have ever have hoped for. I've never felt better racing. It was incredible. And it just takes all the pressure off because you go, oh, well, I can blame it on being sick if that's the case. But isn't it funny, because I would have panicked so much, but you can't because you're in bed with the flu when you're sick. So
just want to get better.
Just want to get better. That's your only focus. So
keep it simple.
Keep it simple, but acceptance, that's a huge one. I love what you said before. That was great.
As we talk about the importance of connection and community, it's a good reminder that this time of year is all about staying close to the ones you love most. That's why Shaped is proudly supported by Easy Mobile, exclusive at Chemist Warehouse. From December 1st, 2025 to February 3rd, 2026, you'll get double the data on selected 5G plans for the first 6 recharges. Enjoy unlimited calls and texts, Aussie-based support, and better value mobile with no lock-ins. Grab a SIM at Chemist Warehouse or activate a free eSIM at easymobile.com.au online. Selected plans only, terms and conditions apply. I'm really looking forward to talking about the journey into retirement and then kind of re-establishing yourself and what that looks like. But if you could go back and speak to yourself at the end of 2012 as a time, what's one thing that you could say to her now that would be like, fuck, that's what I needed to hear?
Throughout probably my whole career, when I was a lot younger, I would have said, bitch, chill out.
Yeah.
Like really,
You're
honestly.
pretty intense.
I was so intense. I put so much pressure on myself. I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I should have because I was just under so much pressure. And
that's a pretty common theme with a lot of people. So is it?
Yeah.
Is that what comes with being a high performer?
I think so, unfortunately. It's just you want to win.
Yeah.
And when you're getting into that 0.01% in the world of top performers, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be that fun. So that's a reality. It's hard work. It's a lot of pressure. It's just not that fun sometimes. And you want to win, and there's no second best. And in the Olympics, silver medal, don't worry about it. It's gold or nothing. So it's probably not going to be that fun, but I wish I enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
And I see athletes, probably like Kaylee McEwen is probably one example of someone who's having so much fun racing. And I would love to have been a more Kaylee McEwen kind of athlete. She is the best in the world. She is the most incredible athlete, but just having so much fun. And I really respect her for that. And if I could just have a little slither of Kaylee McEwen in my life when I was a younger athlete, I would have absolutely loved that. And it's my advice for so many kids. You've really got to enjoy it. It is such a short period of your life. It goes so quickly. You really do have to enjoy it. As much as the pressure is a lot and winning's a lot and training's a lot, it's got to be fun.
You can still have fun.
You can still have fun. You can relax. You can enjoy it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be serious all the time. And I really enjoyed joking around, especially at training. Like I said, I grew up with Jeff Hugel, who was the ultimate trickster and joking and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't really show that much. I was very steely, very vanilla, very boring in interviews when I wasn't really like that all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I probably struggled a little bit with that and wish I lightened up a little bit.
And would the advice be the same at the end of 2012?
2012, I was a very different person because I was really hardened by then and going through all the mental health stuff. I think I was probably a different person. Probably I was a bit over it more than anything. And I was sick of the sport. I was sick of the people in it. I had a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth when I finished. So towards the end, I don't think there was any lightening up. It was a very serious time in my life. I was really struggling. Like I said, I wasn't enjoying the sport, so there was no lightening up to do. I really thoroughly enjoyed my last race, my last individual, because I soaked everything in. I looked at signs that were on the board. I looked at the crowd. I did everything. I laughed and joked as much as I could. I was really struggling, but I truly tried to enjoy everything in the village. I just took it all in. Most of the other villages I don't remember. Beijing I don't remember. Sydney I don't really remember. Athens, nothing at all. So, yeah, I just really tried to take it all in.
Yeah.
But there was no lightening the true gravitas that I was dealing with pretty bad mental health.
So what would you say to yourself to help you in that moment? Like, is it as
Do
simple
what
as...
you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like,
think
I love you?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, I was pretty hard on myself.
Yeah.
That would be really nice. And probably you're doing the best job you can with what you've got, which was I had no tools. I don't really know how to deal with mental health. I didn't know how to deal with such public scrutiny on what my body looked like. I would have just said, you're doing a great job.
Keep being you.
Keep being you. Yeah. Stick it out. You'll be right in the end. You'll eventually get revenge.
So I'm assuming with that in mind, retirement was kind of a gift.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, thank God that's all done.
Yeah. I was counting down the days to
Yeah.
retirement. Seriously was counting down the days. But retirement for me probably didn't go the way that I wanted to. Admittedly, I retired on my own terms, which is very fortunate. Not many athletes get that. And I decided when I finished, and that was really nice. I was very bitter towards my sport at that time because it had turned into something that I didn't like. I was part of the 2000 Olympic swim team, which is one of the best we've ever had. The golden era of swimming, names galore. It was just so incredible, a great culture to be a part of. And 2012 just turned into this cesspit of just awful, really toxic culture. And I was really bitter about that was my last team when I had such a great team to start with, and it had really turned to shit towards the end. And so I think I was probably a little bit upset at the sport for that. And it took me a long time to not be so bitter and to, I guess, have that bit of acceptance around that's the retirement that I got.
Has there been a moment since retirement that has kind of broken you open to now the person that you are today and ultimately helped you rebuild?
Yeah. It's probably back to that acceptance piece, I'd say, to go, hey, that's not really what I wanted. It's not what I worked so hard for. It's not what I expected, but it is what it is. I really do hate that saying it is what it is, because sometimes, but that's what it was, and just accepting that it was. So To turn it around, I saw this really great post. Katie Hoff, she's an American swimmer, and she runs Unfiltered Waters. It's a podcast that they have just 2 American swimmers. And it took her the podcast to learn how to not be angry. She finished in 2012 as well, and to not be angry at the sport. So I can't say I've had a moment or anything that's happened or anything that's changed me around. I think I've just softened over time I'm probably a little bit removed from the sport. I do a little bit of commentary here and there, but I'm not heavily invested. Yeah. I don't go and watch a lot of swimming events. I'm not in their pockets all the time or hanging around swimming. So I think that bit of distance is really nice.
Yeah.
And just that acceptance of that's what I got and that was my ending and it's okay.
It is okay. Absolutely it is.
I mean, a silver medal's not bad at the Olympics at your last one when you're really struggling.
That is a good point. I'm sure there's plenty of people that go, you thought that was not so
terrible.
Good.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It's all I ever wanted.
That's all I could ever dream of.
Well, I don't have a silver medal, so put it that way. We love to talk about relationships, and I don't know how much you like to share about marriage breakdown.
Open book, yeah, for sure.
What were the lessons of that time together? I know you said the lane and swimming is very much like anything that you attack in life. You can focus on things you can control, and then you need to accept the things you can't. Why did your relationship break down, and what were the lessons that you've taken forward in life from that?
One of the big lessons I've probably learned about myself is I'm terrible at communication in my real life. I can communicate anything about a race. I can be extremely critical of myself. I can pick apart a race between 0.2 of a second and my hand moving this many millimeters and this many millimeters is the difference between winning and losing. I can communicate that. I can communicate how to win. I can communicate anything else, but yet struggled so much in my personal relationships to communicate really well. And that's probably one thing I learned so much about my relationship. And with Damo, I mean, we're so great now. I know so many people go, oh, is that amicable? It genuinely is. Like it's really just we weren't meant to be together. But so many of the things I've learned over my time is just learning about myself. And I feel like when relationships break down, people go, that person, they did this, they did that wrong, they did that. But so many times we don't really look at ourselves and go, what did I do that led to the breakdown of that? Yeah. And I just don't think I communicated that well. I probably should have spoken up sooner about things that were going on, but I just bottled them up, or things that could improve the relationship or deepen the relationship, and I didn't allow that. And so over time, I think as I get older and more open to relationships, I've really had to work on myself in communicating things and just the way I go about, whether it's stonewalling or doing any of that, because I had to do it throughout my career. That's what I did. So, yeah, what I did in my swimming career does not work in relationships, surprisingly. Even though it's relationship management, your relationship with your coach is a very intimate relationship, not in that sense, but you have to be extremely vulnerable. You have to be very honest. You have to talk about a whole lot of things that you don't necessarily talk to normal people about. So transferring that into
Was there one bit of advice that one of your coaches along the journey that they gave you, or a moment where they were pretty ruthless or blunt with you that helped the most?
Rowan was probably that coach for me, and I've never worked with an amazing coach like Rowan Taylor since that time, and I'm so grateful. And I moved to Melbourne. Stupidly enough, I was engaged to an AFL player at the time, and I moved to Melbourne. Yeah, I was. And this is crazy. I shouldn't have done this, but it worked out for the best. So before 2008, I was engaged to an AFL player. I wasn't at the time, but we were together, and he got drafted down to Melbourne. And so I was training in Brisbane. I was pretty happy. I was probably the best in my career at that time. I had never been faster since 2006, and decided I'll follow him down there. And I met with my coach, Rowan, who love him. He's a brilliant coach. And rocked up to a meeting. I was living in Moonee Ponds at the time, went on Puckle Street, had a coffee there. I met with Rowan. I remember he brought all these folders. He goes, we can do this, this, and this. I was like, I love this. I'm on board. And rocked up to training. We trained at Nunawading, So I rocked up at the pool there. I was driving from Moonee Ponds to
That's a long way.
It's a long way.
Expensive in tolls these
oh,
days
yeah,
too.
it was. The Eastern Freeway. I became very intimate with that. And I rocked up to training and it was a 25-meter pool, indoor, learn to swim centre. And I was like, Rowan, what the fuck is this? Like, this is a 25-meter pool. We race 50 meters, not short course. We race long course. And the pool at one end was so shallow you couldn't turn properly. And I thought, I've made the biggest mistake of my entire life. Not only have I uprooted my whole life in Queensland, where I've been hugely successful, I'm going to Melbourne for an AFL player that I'm dating, and now I'm training in 25-meter pool, which is not appropriate for
what you're trying to do.
18 months out from the biggest games of my life. It was the best decision I ever made. And when I say trust your intuition and trust your gut, I just knew it was right. And I didn't listen to anyone else. I've never had more haters in my life of people saying you're making the wrong decision, you shouldn't be doing that. People criticize me in the paper. But in my gut, I knew it was the right thing to do. And it's the best decision I've ever made in my life. It was risky as hell. And working with Rowan, with all of those things against me, working with Rowan Taylor was the best coach I've ever worked with. We've had the best relationship. I still respect him so heavily. He's the head coach of Swimming Australia now. Best decision ever. So trusting your gut is the one that on paper is the worst thing you could ever possibly do. Best decision of my life, and truly don't think I would have won Olympic gold medal in 2008 if it weren't for Rowan.
Yeah. Well,
crazy, right?
Thank you, Rowan, for helping Australia's dreams.
I mean, the relationship didn't work out, but I got a gold medal, so that's good.
What club?
He went to Western Bulldogs.
Maybe that's why. No.
I support Carlton, so yeah.
The Blue Baggers. Golly gosh. Any form of tiger within you?
No, unfortunately. Yeah, I know.
Just to begin to wrap things up, because we are so appreciative of your time. What does success, if I can say that right, what does success mean to you now compared to when you were competing?
Success for me is probably more of a balance now, if anything. In my career and working in radio, it's very competitive, and staying in my own lane is such a big thing for me. There's so much noise around it. There's a lot of competitiveness. There's a lot of people trying to tear everyone else down to try and be number one. I've done that in my life. I don't really want to do it again. So focusing on myself and doing it in the best way possible. But mostly authenticity is the big thing for me. Staying authentic through all of that when everything else is going around you. I don't feel like I was truly authentic to myself back at the start of my career. I was putting on this facade of I'm really tough, I'm really strong. I don't give a lot in interviews. I'm a very tough competitor, when really I just wanted to joke around and have a great time and muck around with people in the marshalling area. But I pretended to be tough and strong. So staying true to myself now is hugely successful in a world that's trying to change you, that wants to make you more vanilla, like everyone else, all the same. Staying true to yourself is hugely successful for me. And if I can stay true, then I think I've won. It's hard to do.
It is. Well, we are, like, in the world today, we're pulled in so many different directions, and what's cool today is not cool tomorrow. So what's the point of chasing that version of yourself rather than just who you are and show up? If people like you, then great. If they don't, then they can all get fucked anyway.
I love that.
What do you feel most proud of today? Not as an athlete, but just as a human?
That I've stayed soft throughout all of that. I've had so many things thrown at me throughout the time, whether it's public criticism of myself, dealing with pressure, any of that I've still stayed soft and warm and friendly throughout all of that. I could have been a massive bitch, but I was probably a bitch at the start of my career. But I think a lot of really staying true to myself. I'm really proud of that. But staying soft is one of those things. I haven't let the world make me hard. I haven't let people's comments or criticisms make me too thick of a skin that I'm rude or mean or anything like that, that I've still stayed warm and friendly throughout all of that.
Yeah.
And so many people make assumptions about who you are as a person, and probably a lot of people thought I was a massive bitch until they met me and then realized I'm actually not at all. But yeah, staying soft. I'm really, really proud of that, because you can become really hard throughout that time and really standoffish to people and not trust anyone. And I could have gone down that road, but I stayed really true and went, no, I'm pretty, unless you prove to me otherwise, I'm going to trust that you have good intentions and that everyone's doing the best that they can with the information that they have. And sometimes that's okay.
That's a nice quality to have.
Isn't it?
Well done. Well done to
Thank you. Thank you.
The journey of life beyond the pool, what are some of your passions that maybe people don't know about that you kind of find yourself enjoying now?
I'm renovating a house, so
enjoying or not enjoying?
I love it. Yeah. Oh, it drives me mad. But I actually want to learn how to do waterproofing and things like that. So I want to do my own tiling and learn how to power.
Brave.
It is brave.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to be a lady tradie and to like learn how to use a drill properly, because I've drilled into a few holes into walls and stuff that I probably shouldn't have done. But anyway, I weirdly like doing that. I love improving houses, and this is my first renovation that I've ever done, and I'm really enjoying it. And hey, we're going back to this accepting that my house is shit at the moment. I'm a Virgo, so I like things really clean and neat and tidy, and my kitchen is not. It's garbage. It's horrible. My backyard's horrible. But really coming back to that acceptance of, it looks terrible now. It'll look great when I'm finished with it. But yeah, it's just a shithole at the moment, and being okay with that. Yeah. No one's allowed to come to my house until it's done. Until it's done. And I'll be really proud of it.
Well, I wish you well on that journey.
Thank you.
Renovations are an interesting beast. Maybe we'll find you on either The Block.
Oh, The Block. I'd be
hopeless.
Adrian
Portelli now has his own show that he's producing.
Okay, great. So I'd be terrible on that because I'd be probably in tears.
Well, that makes good TV.
It does.
So you'd probably be
I'd be
high
such a
candidate.
Diva. But then I could tile my own bathroom.
Who would you go in to a show like that and do the renovations with?
You know what? Probably my co-host Liam on Triple M. So he's... Oh, no, actually, no, he'd be hopeless at renovations, but we work together really well.
Is he a good decision maker though? Like, would he, if you had 3 concepts, would he be like, nah, that's the one?
You know what, who I'm picking is Spider Everett, who I also work with at Triple M, because he's done heaps of renos and he is so well connected. He knows everyone.
And he doesn't need ladders.
No, because he can reach the gutter from just standing. He's 6'7", which is amazing. And he's really good. So he's very calm and very collected and probably would be great to work with. So, yeah, I'd probably pick Spider over Liam. Liam would actually probably yell at people.
That's okay. You need that sometimes. There's not a lot of people taking ownership in renovations and buildings.
True.
So
it's awful.
You might need someone yelling.
Yeah.
2, to wrap things up, if there is, what's an Olympic moment you still cringe at?
Oh, so many.
So many. Probably doing the peace sign. So I was like, when I won, I wanted to do like this little peace sign because that's hung around with me forever. So what happened was Josh Crow, I was on a team with, I was just like, he's like, if you win, just do a little peace sign. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. It got picked up as V for victory. I was like, what? That's not what it was at all. It was just this cute little peace sign. So that's hung around for a little while. I still do it like just as a bit of a joke sometimes in photos, but just a couple of those.
Yeah, a little peace sign. But the V for victory really bothered me because it's not what it was about. I was just not that kind of person.
So far from the truth.
So far. I was just so innocent. I was just like, hey, peace, cute. And then, nah.
I think I know the answer to this, but it is something that we love to ask every guest. And that's, what's the one piece of advice you would give your 15-year-old self that would help you on the journey ahead? I mean, you were already at the Olympics competing.
Yeah, dealing with it. What did I tell my 15-year-old self? That it's all going to be okay. I know a lot of people say that.
I know, but do you think it's because so much of us live in this state where we don't think it will be?
Well, yeah. Why do we think that? We all think it's doom and gloom. Maybe because we're doomsday preppers. I don't know. Who knows? In a zombie apocalypse, I'm going out first. I don't want to hang around. So I don't know why we bother prepping for that. If a zombie apocalypse comes and wipe me out on the first day. Just bite me first day. Yeah, it's going to be okay. I'm sure a lot of people say that. But I think we prepare for the worst. We put so much pressure on ourselves. like I said, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not saving people's lives. It's just swimming. Enjoy it while you can. It is such a privilege. And 15-year-old me was just having a great time. I truly was enjoying it. And I was just so overwhelmed that I was so young that I didn't really realize the enormity of what I was doing. This was a home games. It was massive. People loved it. It was the best games. I still have people telling me it's the best Olympics they've ever been to or seen. So, yeah, it's all going to be fine. Just chill out. You'll be right. It's just swimming.
Are you in that state now? Or do you have moments?
I don't take anything seriously now. I'm probably on the pendulum too far the other way. I was probably really extreme.
Yeah.
Probably really chilled now that I don't really give a fuck about much. What do I have to worry about? I really have nothing to worry about. And I'm a worrywart naturally. I'm a perfectionist. I do put a lot of pressure on myself. There's so many times I've got to remind just patience is everything. Sometimes we get you see people with road rage. I'm like, why? Where are you in a rush to go? It's all fine. We're fine. It's okay.
You need to pretend that you've been drinking nonstop.
Yeah, totally.
In a lot of moments.
Yeah.
Right.
Who cares? I'll deal with that tomorrow.
I'm always in a mad rush. So,
of course.
And I don't know if that's partly my perfectionism that comes out in like trying to maximize time.
Yes.
Being everywhere that you're supposed to be.
That's the athlete in you.
Yeah.
Because
how do you deal with that now though?
I don't, because I was late for this and that kills me. I have so much anxiety. I wanted to throw up in the car, and because I was watching the time, I was like, mate, come on. The Uber driver would stop as soon as the light went orange. I was like, mate, let's go. We've got to
put down.
Put your foot down. So I'm with you on that one.
Well, Leisel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I was not an avid swimmer myself because I was shit, but you were very much one of the heroes from a Australian icon point of view. So I appreciate you giving up the time to come on and share your story with our listeners and viewers. I appreciate you for being so candid and so honest about some of the challenges that you've had throughout your journey, but also some of the insights that will, I have no doubt, help many people in their journeys, whether that be sport, life, business, whatever it is.
My pleasure.
So I look forward to catching up again sometime soon. It won't be in road rage.
No, it will not be.
It won't be in the pool.
So I have this dream though. You could probably tell me if I'm delusional or not. I reckon I could kick a 50.
Kick it 50 metres?
Yeah.
So you standing on the blocks? You think you could
I get a run up. Yeah,
of course. I'm giving you a run up, but you think by the amount of times you stood on the blocks and saw 50 metres, you're like,
I could kick 50.
Okay. Well, I've got this idea that we need to capture some of these conversations in footage.
Yes.
So maybe at the next opportunity, you and I get together. I definitely wouldn't kick at 50.
Okay.
My hamstring would wrap around my neck.
Fair enough.
But I look forward to seeing you kick at 50.
Okay. All right. If
I can swim breaststroke in a pool for 50 metres.
Yep.
Oh, God, what's a time that's respectful but not embarrassing?
If you could do it under a minute, that would be very impressive.
Okay. Well, that's my challenge.
Because my peak time was like 31. 32.
Even if you're not there. Half the time. Far out. It's not that bad. Okay. All right. I'm going to do that. That's a challenge.
Fast.
50 metres timed breaststroke.
Yeah. We can train. And I'll kick at 50 while you're training.
Okay.
I'll kick it over you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Good luck.
Thank you.